Hi, our team is composed by Daniela Martínez, Pérez, and Saúl Rodríguez.
We're going to talk about democracy and capitalism in North America, mainly on the United States and Mexico.
Democracy is a way of government in which citizens are the ones deciding. They vote for the candidate they consider the best option, and at the end, the candidate who has the most votes is president. Most countries around the world have a democracy as a way of government since it is a pretty fair option, but there are obviously some people who disagree.
Capitalism is an economic system in which people have what they earn. Citizens are their owners of their own properties and their income may not depend on anyone but themselves. People can be considered their own bosses.
The Mexican War of Independence was an armed conflict and the culmination of a political and social process which ended the rule of Spain in 1821 in the territory of New Spain. The war had its antecedent in the French invasion of Spain in 1808. It extended from the Grito de Dolores by Father Miguel Hidalgo y Costilla on September 16, 1810, to the entrance of the Army of the Three Guarantees led by Agustin Iturbide to Mexico City on September 27, 1821. The movement for independence was inspired by the Age of Enlightenment and the liberal revolutions of the last part of the 18th century. By that time, the educated elite of New Spain had begun to reflect on the relation between Spain and its colonial kingdoms. Changes in the social and political structure occasioned by Bourbon reforms and a deep economic crisis in New Spain caused discontent among the Creole elite. The Iturbide Empire came after the Mexican independence. The Iturbides Empire was a short-lived monarchy and the first independent post-colonial state in Mexico. It was the only former colony of the Spanish Empire to establish a monarchy after independence and for a short time together with the Empire of Brazil. It was one of the two empires of the Americas. The Empire of Iturbide exists from the signing of the Treaty of Córdoba and the Declaration of Independence of the Mexican Empire in September 1821, until the emperor's abdication in March 1823 when the provisional government took the power and the First Mexican Republic was proclaimed in 1824. The first and only president of the state was Agustin de Iturbide.
The presidency of Porfirio Díaz is often remembered as a period of social degradation and oppression of freedoms in Mexico. His extensive 35-year virtual dictatorship brought about a great deal of hardship for the lower classes and ran an incredible system of wealth distribution. This image of Porfirio Díaz is a ruthless despot has become an almost impenetrable one in the post-revolutionary Mexican tradition. However, what is often overlooked and unaddressed are the immense economic and social benefits that were still brought about under his rule. Through massive improvement programs, superb financial management, and an unrelenting desire to see the implementation of law and order, Porfirio Díaz brought much prosperity and stability to Mexico when it needed it the most. Stability, an expression rarely uttered in discussions of Mexican history, was implemented at all costs under Díaz, no small feat considering the near century of political and judicial disorder that preceded his rule. Porfirio Díaz brought to light the more beneficial economic and social policies he implemented that would bring Mexico into the modern 20th century world. But people that were not Díaz's friends suffered a lot. Their liberal way of thinking just got them killed by the nation of Porfirio Díaz. No one was meant to be against him because he was the one and only ruler in Mexico. Injustice spread among Mexico. Friends of Porfirio were rich, had the most valuable works that Mexico could have, and had a limitation of power. However, those who were not only suffered and worked a lot without gaining much. The Porfiriato was, and still is, a time of much controversy and mixed emotion. On the one hand, the 35-year rule of this president resulted in a great deal of impoverishment among the lower classes and enormous inequality in terms of wealth distribution. On the other hand, Diaz's policies brought about a swift and enormously beneficial period of modernization and industrialization, as well as social reforms that continue to have an impact on Mexico. His term as president certainly contained a great deal of flaws and, unfortunately, his rule is often remembered and characterized by this only. However, while oppression and injustice are often the most remembered aspects of the Porfiriato, the presidency of Porfirio Diaz brought numerous economic and social benefits to Mexico, lifting it out of over a century of constant civil war, anarchy, chaos, and into the modern industrial world. No one in Mexico built monuments to him then or since. He is remembered as one of the great villains of Mexican history.
Adam Smith was a Scottish moral philosopher and a key figure in the Scottish Enlightenment. He was considered by many the founder of modern capitalism. In 1776, he published a book called The Wealth of Nations, where he points out how economic systems and government structure function. He believed government prospered when they didn't interfere in the private sector. He argues in favor of small governments, low taxes, and free competition among business owners. He believed in compassion and morality. He worried about building a society that was mainly interested in private property. He described capitalism as, quote, the obvious and simple system of natural liberty, end of quote. Adam Smith defined capitalism and brought revolution, which then led us to the American industrialization progress. Capitalism is an economic system in which people have what they earn based on their principle of individual rights. Citizens are the owners of their own properties, and their income may not depend on anyone but themselves. Politically, it is a system of freedom, while legally it is a system of objective laws. Companies that successfully adopted these techniques of rivalry were the ones that grew, and some came to dominate their industries, though usually only for a few years, until other firms found superior methods of satisfying customer demands. Capitalism is divided in 5 basic points. Number 1. Means of production are privately owned. Number 2. Founded on the principle of private property, the people have the right to own property. Number 3. Profit motive, the right to earn money. Number 4. Consumer sovereignty. People have the right to buy what they want as long as they have the money to pay for it. And last but not least, competition, the rivalry between sellers. The industrialization process in the US is also known as the Industrial Revolution, and it was a transition to the new manufacturing process in the period from 1760 to 1830 approximately. This transition included going from hand production methods to machines, new chemical manufacturing and iron production processes, improved efficiency of water power, the increasing use of steam power, the development of machine tools, and the rise of the factory system. Every day, more and more industries and factories were built, economy rose up, and simple jobs were dominated by new machines. Merchant Francis Covert Lowell from Newburyport, Massachusetts, memorized the design of textile machines on his tour of British factories in 1810. He realized that the War of 1812 had ruined his important business, but that a demand for domestic finished cloth was emerging in America. On his return to the United States, he set up the Boston Manufacturing Company.
Try to keep you close.